CS today morning for purposes of responding to any of these questions. And therefore, we will proceed with other orders. Yes, Senator Boni.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we hear you. But from your communication, the Prime Cabinet Secretary has alerted Senate this morning. The Cabinet Secretary at the National Treasury has alerted the Senate this morning. Mr. Speaker, it should also occur to this House that this is not the first time the Prime Cabinet Secretary is failing to appear before this House. And, Mr. Speaker, if this does not imply attitude, then what does? The Cabinet Secretary has an attitude about this House. He thinks, Mr. Speaker, that the House is waiting for him so that this morning it discovers that he's not around. He had a 7-day window during which he knew he was going to travel or he was traveling. He should have informed us. This is the time for now us to sanction the Prime Cabinet Secretary so that he respects the House of Equity that represents the 47 counties of Kenya. This cabinet, the current cabinet, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we don't call it to order as Parliament, they are going to run roughshod on all Kenyans. Same applies to Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. Mr. Speaker, probably Shingo Upande, quote unquote, we can accept the one who is in Dubai because he had the courtesy of informing us earlier. But these two, and they represent two critical portfolios, they must be here. I beg you today on this standing order, you sanction them. Otherwise, Parliament will start looking like a BARAZA in Marinya, in Mutuapa, in Iloyangilani. That cannot be the case. In Maua, who are they to challenge Senate? Who? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, we must set the record straight. When sufficient notice is given to a cabinet secretary to appear before a committee of Parliament, there can never be an excuse for not appearing. Being on a trip abroad is not a reason for not appearing before a committee of the Senate. It's actually a very shameful excuse. Mr. Speaker, I am impressed by the formulators of our Constitution, the drafters of our Constitution. Because in there, Mr. Speaker, they recognize that the first responsibility and function of the President is to be answerable to Parliament. If the President, Mr. Speaker, is answerable to Parliament, then Cabinet Secretaries who serve at the pleasure of the President must be 10 times answerable to Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I am a bit concerned because, and I speak for the minority side, you know, Mr. Speaker, we had stayed away from these morning sessions on account of a legitimate court process. And once that process has ended, Mr. Speaker, we are back to engage. I don't know whether the cabinet secretaries are afraid of the presence of the minority side in the House and they don't want to face the tough questions that they have to face. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with you. Because if we don't nip this thing on the bud now, then it will become the order of the day, and cabinet secretaries will be giving you excuse after excuse why they cannot appear before the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I implore you to find reason in our own standing orders and in the Constitution to censure these cabinet secretaries and ensure that they appear before the Senate to respond to questions. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, you know, there is a casualness that is creeping in, that a cabinet secretary would have the audacity to write to the Speaker of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya in the morning and tell him that I'm not going to appear before the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I think I know you, Mr. Speaker. Do something. Don't allow these people to mock you because they are mocking you. Mr. Speaker, you sit there and on behalf of 47 delegations in this country, 47 counties. The questions that we are asking these cabinet secretaries are not on our own behalf. We are asking these questions for the benefit of the people of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, do something. I thank you.
Senator Kathure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, also for allowing me to give a comment on this evolving trend by the CSs. Honorable Speaker, let me first undo the case of my question, which I directed to the CS Treasury. And Honorable Speaker, the CS Treasury has been this question for almost 3 months now. It is scheduled last week, it did not appear, then another time it did the same. But if you look at the content of my question, it is the money which has not been disbursed to NHIF, because NHIF did their work, they awarded these victims, but then Treasury has not been able to release 11.6 billion to NHIF so that they can pay. So, Mr. Speaker, when the CS now ask us to go to the Minister of Health, he is running away from his responsibility. The Minister of Health does not allocate budgets. If they have given the money that they need is 11.6 to pay these people, then Treasury should be held responsible so that they can be able to pay these victims. These people are already dead, and the beneficiaries or their kins are following this money day in, day out. I have one case which made me to do this and investigate from one of my constituents from Meru, who the wife died due to COVID in 2020. But to date, is owned 7 million by NHIF. He has followed this money. I have assisted him through the Ministry of Health, but he's still, Mr. Speaker, he is always referred to Treasury. So that is why I don't know how you'll guide me to go ahead, because this question is like the CS is dropping because of the responsibility that he should do. So, Mr. Speaker, I will seek your guidance also to direct that the CS should appear himself, Treasury CS, so that he can be able to answer this question, because I can see he's running away from it. Also, Mr. Speaker, you know you are the chair of SBC, which allocates the businesses of this House. And you know we have no time before the end of this session. So today morning, you allocated time for these CSs and put aside all other businesses that we have in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, when we receive letters in the morning that the CS is not appearing, and we have a lot of pending business, Mr. Speaker, I feel these CSs are not respecting this House, and this is the right time to crack the whip. So, Mr. Speaker, we are very committed to do the work that we are elected to do. And if the CSs are not honoring this House, then they should be sanctioned, Mr. Speaker, so that they can be able to respect this House. This is an honorable House of 47 delegations, and the other 27 elected senators. So, Mr. Speaker, I think with your wisdom, before the end of this session, so that the next year we start on a clean footing, you should really do a letter, especially to the end of state, because he has the responsibility. And he's the one actually who supported the CSs to appear in the two houses. So, Mr. Speaker, I think, you know, this is the first time Senator Sifuna has clapped when I'm giving any. Yeah, so, Mr. Speaker, I want to end there so that at least Senator Sifuna can handle to where I have left. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we were elected to this House, the President implored us to amend our standing orders for the CSs to appear before us. We had the support of the head of state. So when they don't appear, they don't just show contempt to this House, also to the President of this Republic. And Mr. Speaker, as the feeling of many members, please crack the whip. My committee on roads, transportation and housing, on Monday, after inviting the governor of Kajiado, Olelenku, to appear before us, even after summoning him, he had the audacity of saying that he wouldn't appear 45 minutes before the time the meeting was supposed to start. Mr. Speaker, we fined him, or we gave him a suspended sentence, and fined him $500,000. And if does not appear tomorrow, it will take effect. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, and I want the House to listen to me, because we need to do things differently. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we also fined the governor of Nairobi, Johnson Sakaja, who happened to be one time a senator of this great county of Nairobi. We have invited him since November 2022. We are in November 2023, 6 times, and he has never appeared, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we gave that fine because we know he won't even appear tomorrow. And if he doesn't, Mr. Speaker, we are going to invoke Section 19 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, that he should be arrested and brought to the committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is a high time that this House is taken with seriousness it deserves, Mr. Speaker. And you know, and especially those governors who are senators, they are giving this House a bad name. I mean, they should be the one to really respect this House, because they have been here for about 10 years. And they are the one who are not even appearing in committees. Even my governor of Kiambu, Kimani Wamatangi, Mr. Speaker, has been invited about 6 times. He has not appeared. I think we should crack the whip, because for us, in future, we want to be governors, and we don't want people to say senators were the worst governors. So we have to do it today. And for the CSs who did not appear today, Mr. Speaker, crack the whip. Give them a fine. Invoke Section 19. Because if you don't do that, we will receive the apologies a minute before we get into the House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For me, I want to weigh in on the issue of